Hello, welcome to Rafael at Home. This is Richard Peterson of the California Film Institute and the Christopher B. Smith Rafael Film Center. I'd like to acknowledge the ongoing support of the Consulate General of Sweden, San Francisco, and the Barbara Usher Pro Suecia Foundation. This recording is part of our series For Your Consideration, a celebration of world cinema that includes many of the films submitted for Oscar consideration, including this one today that presumably you've just watched, which is Charter, written and directed by Amanda Kernell and starring Dahl Torp, both of whom are with us today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for
happy to be here.
It's a very intense film, an extremely intense performance by Anna, which a very good performance, I should add. I guess it's one of those, one would describe it as sort of a tour de force performance because you're on screen almost all the time, I believe. And you go through a large range of emotions. I think it's, the emotions are really something that's the center of the film, is it not? Would you say, Amanda?
Yeah, I'd say so. So for me, in making a film about a custody case, or I think of the film even more maybe as a love story between a mother and a daughter, or a declaration of love to divorced parents. That's what it is for me. But you know, in those cases, the truth sort of goes into a million pieces. So you don't know what's the truth anymore. So you can sort of only use your emotions, I guess. In a way, that was a truthful way for me to make it with Anna.
And that actually is very much a part of the film because you go through this range of emotions and a range of situations, and the culpability is ambiguous throughout the film. You know, what has she done something to alienate her children, or is he an ogre? I mean, you don't have the answer to any of those things. It's all very ambiguous.
Yeah, I wanted the audience to be sort of like the jury or the social work, the caseworker in a custody case. You know, you sort of have to judge in every second, just like the people around her does, and as story does herself. But as you would do, I guess, being in that situation, you in every second you keep on judging, like, is she the better parent? Is she now? Is she now? Is she now? And what is that? What's the most important thing? You know, is it love or a stability for the children, or I don't know. And I was wondering how far I would go myself in a case like this. I mean, I have them all around me, and I'm from a family with generations of divorced parents, and these cases are happening, I mean, I think around all of us. And I was wondering how far would I go, and how far should you go fighting for your kids, and is there a point where you should let go, and when is that? And if you're a woman and a mother, is it ever okay to not sacrifice yourself completely for your children?
Yeah, and then and the film also has a great deal of ambiguity in terms of we never question her love for her children, but you know, we do see it, and I think Anna carries us off very well. You know, the sense of when you feel, I guess you feel that people believe you're guilty, and so you're sort of in a glass house all the time. People are always watching you and looking at you through certain perspective.
It makes me very happy to hear you say that. That's very much how I felt that Alice feels, that she feels in this film. looking at yourself from the outside and being on the inside, other people's eyes are a constant threat. And not really knowing whether your actions are are caused by reality or by emotions. What is the truth? What has happened? She doesn't, for real, she doesn't know. And she has feelings. She has maybe intuitions or suspicions about what might have happened. Maybe the father is abusing them. Or is this just something that she chooses to believe or actually believes because it's convenient for her case, that he's been a bad father? That's actually hard to know. It's also something that's interesting in this sort of conflicts when it gets so hard. When does it start to be a war between the adults, and when is it a fight, a struggle for your children, for your relationship to them, and for their well-being? It's a mixture, and it's impossible, I think, for everyone to actually know, and to know how to navigate truthfully and clean in this sort of conflict. And especially, not at least for a person like Alice, because she's very emotionally driven.
Yes, yes.
But it's interesting that you said that it's about how people look at you, because I think for me, this film and Sami Blood, that was the debut feature film I made. That was also at Sundance some years back. They're both, for me, they're both about how other people look at you and what it does to you, and what do you do with your sense of powerlessness. You know, what do you do in a situation where there's nothing you can do? You're out of power, really. I mean, she is in a way, but she chooses to do something. And I think all of the films I've done are usually about women making radical choices.
Yes, referring to what you were talking about, this is your second feature. Charter is your second feature. Your first feature was Sami Blood. Both these films, as you mentioned, were shown at the Sundance Film Festival. Now, in Sami Blood is, I think it's based on a memoir, isn't it? It's based on a real book or a real life, or anyway. But
it's based on real people and a combination of real people.
Right.
Yeah,
but you are Sami, or part Sami, aren't you? That that Sami is the indigenous people of I think northern Sweden and Norway, and I get, so anyway, I just wanted to clarify that. But also I understand the girl, or Alina, the actress who plays Alina, is also Sami.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And some of the other children as well. But I guess for me, that's maybe I recognize something from home, so it feels truthful to me, a way of being, maybe. But for that part specifically, I had to find a teenage girl, since that part is so important. I mean, being a love story in a way between a mother and her daughter. To find a teenage girl with so much integrity that you can't just go up and hug her. You have to win her over, or win her back in this case. I mean, she's hurt and betrayed in a way, and that's hard. I mean, could at least take the length of a feature film, but probably years, right, to win her back. And I think she really has that. Tintin, who plays this part, that she's yeah, she has so much integrity for being so young.
Yeah.
So you have to. She's not easy to win. Or what do you say, Anna?
No, yeah.
I totally agree. She has this within her natural person. She has this integrity, and that's it's rare in a person, especially in such a young person. And it was for Alice, I am her mother, and I've had her since she was a baby, and I used to be entitled to carry her whole body. So this was, and that's very far away. Maybe with a lot of teenagers, you can't do that anymore. You're not entitled to touch them like a mother. And but still, your body and her body has these memories. It's taken place, and that was because we did a lot of work together before we started shooting. Amanda took us to hotels and cabins to meet, because we lived in different countries and different parts of so we met in hotels and cabins, and a very important part of that work was for me to earn the right to touch my children. And that's also difficult with the little one, because he needs to be confident or feel okay with me, grabbing him, hugging him. He needs to be able to lean into me, lie on my arm. I must be able to stroke him without him reacting, whoa, what's this woman doing to me? And with its teenagers can have this a big shyness about their body, about their physicality, that you need to respect as a character and as an actor, but still be able to trespass in the work.
Yeah.
I also think it was an important, it's an important part of the film, the physicality with the children, because it's through them and through how they look at you and how they react to things, you also define, what do I think about this person? Is she a good mother? Depending
Yes.
on how they react. So that had to be truthful, and I think you need to do all that work. And it was also interesting and painful to see how, I mean, just imagining being their parent and not being chosen by your child. That is also one of my greatest nightmares.
Yes.
Not just losing them in a case, but you could lose them, maybe they can lose faith in you or not want you.
You capture all those issues, and I think all of the emotions that those issues present, you capture those very well. I think those, I'm wondering, in terms of you working with the actors, did you, and we're having this conversation again after people have seen the film. So, we referred to the end, or, I don't want to spoil it for people, but did you work out the whole backstory? I mean, did you clarify that, what exactly had happened in the past, or did you leave that open? And I imagine that would, obviously involve your performance on it. But anyway,
for me,
if you don't want to answer, fine. But I do know if you had it worked out, because the ending is, I was upset at the ending. What is she doing? What is she going to do? And the questions come up: is everything so bad that she would take her own life, is one of the questions that occurred to me. And so I don't, anyway, I was very curious whether you had worked that out, or whether
the background story.
I'm sorry,
the background story. Yeah. To some extent, but also one problem with, I don't know if it's a problem, but with this film, because we talked quite a lot about it, but it's like this film, because of this conflict that's between these people, it's impossible, so it's impossible to find out an objective truth it doesn't exist, because
Yes, because
the
I'm quite
versions
sure.
are
I mean, we
so different. My version and my husband's version, they're totally different. So you could say that there is no truth, but then I, as Alice, we talked about it, and I had some sort of truth, but also some of this truth that she chooses to believe in, she also has doubts about. She's not sure. It's like truth almost doesn't exist. There exists some facts that me and my ex-husband were better off in the past. We have had a better life than this. We talked about how we could quarrel, how our tempers could crash, vulnerable points between our personalities. But exactly what has happened is impossible to find out for real. Yes,
Oh, I
Amanda.
think, yeah, and it's also, I think you as Alice would have one version and he has another.
Yes.
But of course we worked out, because you're a very thorough, hardworking actress. So you also want to know, I mean, you
Yes.
know the process of what had happened in the custody case and
Yes.
what, you know, and we talked to, I mean, I did research for years, and then you also talked to a few of them, but with lawyers and custody case workers, and
Yes.
especially with parents, mother who's taking their children abroad and been to prison for that. It's a 2 to 4 years prison sentence if you're not allowed to do it, and the other parent press charges. And fathers that have had their kids taken away by the other parents, and you know, and people that I know from before and people that I met through the process of and research with the film, and you met with a few of them. So some of the scenes are also, you know, it's like Sami Blood in a way. I think film for me is collecting. It's also like a collection of people's memories in a way. Some are mine, but they're also memories of other people, from other people. So I mean, there's some truth, like facts in that as well, you could say.
You make your audience very attentive to, you know, well, how is this caseworker, you know, what is her attitude? You know, you make us look for clues, you know, in all of the people around Anna, as well as, you know, we're with Anna through the whole film, through the whole ordeal.
But it's also, I think, when you meet a woman, like you meet her in the beginning of the film, and I think that would happen also if you do in reality, is that a mother who doesn't have her kids, it's uphill from there, because I think, perceive her as there's something wrong with her. Either she chose not to be with them, and that's a character flaw, a big one, or she didn't get them, and we think that mothers would have their children. They don't necessarily do, but you know, otherwise there's something terribly wrong with her. So
well,
from
you
starting out at that starting point, it's so hard. The trail you have to walk, it's so what do you say?
Steep.
Ambiguous, or
you know, it's a
complex.
Yeah, or it's difficult, you know, because if then from starting out there, either when people look at you that way, it's so hard to do the right thing, and I don't think you're the best parent you can be in this situation. Of course not, because you're under pressure and your whole life is, you know, shaky, and you're not sure what to do, and you're under this stress all the time. But you know, depending on how you're with your kids, you either hug them too tightly, you hold them too close to you, or you're not attentive enough, or you know, we have all these preconceived notions from there. So it's such a nightmare. I don't wish this for anyone, but I do wanted to make a film that would I mean, I think film is such an empathy machine that you can, I mean, it's maybe the closest you can get to being with another person in their shoes in a way, even though you're ambiguous towards her, but still you're with her in this, and you get to think, what would I do? Oh, it's you know, it's a bad idea to buy a bird, but then again, I mean, you have to, you don't want your kid to cry, and you know, sometimes you make bad choices, and yeah. And I like that. I want people to discuss. I like it when they disagree, and I think it's, I do want them to discuss walking out of the cinema. What should she have done? Should she go back to him or not? I truly wonder. I mean, I wish I could. That's why it's too bad not being able to meet an audience so much these days.
Yeah.
We were happy enough to premiere before the pandemic broke out.
Yes, you did. Luckily, at Sundance did take place last year, didn't it? Yes. Yeah. But well, I hope we will be able to supply you with a chance to meet your audience at the Rafael one of these days before too long. Is there any other final thoughts you have? Again, it's a very, I think it's a very good film, and it's very complicated in, you know, in a good sense of capturing life, which is, you know, not simple at all. But I appreciate your participation and look forward to seeing the film again. Any last thoughts?
No, I mean, of course, I think I at least make films because we want to talk to the world about things like you truly wonder. So, of course, I'm wondering if you think she should go back to him.
Well, I'm thinking is, well, is it worth going back to him to being with the children? I mean, that's the big crux there at the end. You know, and she chooses, at least apparently chooses not to.
Yeah.
So it's an extremely serious issue, and a universal issue as well. But
yeah, it's one of our great losses, I think, we can suffer in life, and you know, not having your children.
yes, yeah. But anyway, well, thank you again, and hope to meet you in reality one of these days.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you.